Initialize sequence.
Welcome to The Baldcast, a production of John Canzano's Bald-Faced Truth.
Pleased to be joined today by one of the experts in the Big Ten Conference, not just on the Big Ten, but on IU, Indiana University. He played at IU. He is around that program. He's got a Substack called The Big Red Carpet. You can see him on the Big Ten Network, Sirius XM Radio. Rhett Lewis joining us now. How are you, man?
Oh, man, John. Pleasure to chat with you. Anytime we get to talk about the Big Ten rocking and rolling into the college football playoff, and IU is a part of it, I'm fired up, man. It's been a heck of a run so far and not ready for it to end.
I'm looking at Oregon, Indiana, and I'm thinking there's part of me that wants them to treat it like the NFL. Maybe they should be reseed because I think they're the best two teams. I think this is the championship game. What do you see?
Yeah, I definitely see these as the best two teams. I will say that it feels like Ole Miss caught some fire here. And so looking at that at the bottom end of the bracket, actually both those teams, Miami and Ole Miss, seem to have caught fire a little bit. And so I'll be curious to see how that bottom of the bracket ends up working out. But man, this would be fun as a natty, right? Indiana, Oregon. They are the two best teams. We've seen this matchup before. So the rematch element of it is so intriguing. The line of scrimmage is going to determine the winner of this game. It did back in Autzen Stadium a couple of weeks ago when Indiana won in Eugene. And I actually think Indiana's kind of even better on that front now than they were, especially on the offensive side. So a lot to get into with this matchup. But to me, this is a big-time line of scrimmage game for these two incredible programs right now.
No Ohio State, no Georgia, no Alabama. I think the fact that Indiana is playing Oregon in a semifinal is amazing, and you got Mississippi on the other side, Miami.
Right.
I think this is good for the game. But some of the people out there are saying, "Oh, this is boring. We don't have the brand names, the usual suspects." What do you make of the fact that we've got 4 first-time coaches? Somebody's going to win a national championship for the first time.
I think it's really cool. And I think especially when you look at Indiana and Oregon, you look at the congruencies, albeit in different eras, of these two head coaches, right? They were both on staff with Nick Saban at Alabama. They were both recruiting coordinators at one time. And I think that they both do a phenomenal job they are both elite messengers. Like, they find ways to package their message to reach their players and their programs better than anybody in the country. Now, they do it a little bit differently, right? I almost feel like Dan Lanning is the modern day Curt Cignetti, right? It's just like now Cignetti's done a great job of maintaining his blueprint, his identity, but also adapting to the world around him, which is why you're seeing the success. But I do feel like Dan Lanning, in a way, is Curt Cignetti. Like, there's a gritty kind of old school approach to it, maybe with a little bit of a new school delivery method with Dan Lanning. So I think both these guys have immense respect for each other. And I think that if you're a college football fan and you can't latch on to these two programs and to these two coaches, man, are you even a fan at all? Or are you just like a diehard of your school? And that's fine. But man, you got to appreciate the path that these programs have taken, especially Indiana's, to get to this point. Like, this is what college football is all about, man. It's just been really cool to watch, especially as a former Indiana player, to see the work that Scott Dolson, the AD, has done, the work that Cignetti has done to get IU to this point. And it's just, it's the parity of the sport right now, to me, is really fun to see.
The story at Oregon is easy to see coming. Like, you have Phil Knight, you've got Nike. Oregon's been planning for this, and this era in a lot of ways just kind of veers into what they were doing well already. What happened at Indiana? Because I covered that program in 1998-99. Antoine Randall, your quarterback, was the QB of that team. You had Cam Cameron as the coach at Indiana. I didn't see Indiana coming here. And so what happened in the last few years to set this up?
Well, I credit Scott Dolson. First, you credit Pam Whitten, the president, for having like the institutional congruencies to say we need football at Indiana University in order, for this university to achieve the success that it can get out there and do. And so starts from the top. And then Dolson had a really unique way of looking at who he wanted to hire as a head coach. He went back to the Bill Mallory era of Indiana football, which was really successful. They were going to bowls almost every year. In fact, it was the last time that Indiana had won a bowl game before the Rose Bowl, was the 91 Copper Bowl, when Bill Mallory was the head coach. And so they identified things that made them successful then. and then tried to play that forward this time by, we wanted a coach who had good history with coaching quarterbacks, right? And developing quarterbacks. That was a check mark for Curt Cignetti. We wanted a coach that had been a recruiting coordinator before. That was a check mark for Indiana and for Curt Cignetti. We wanted a coach that had been able, that had a proven track record of winning as a head coach at any level. Obviously, that was Curt Cignetti. So those three big tenets, I feel like, are what has allowed Indiana to find this success, because I believe that Curt Cignetti is elite as an evaluator of talent, which is so crucial in today's college football. He is elite at developing talent, which you're seeing with the quarterbacks, for one, right? Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza, these last 2 years, were not the players that they ended up being in week one, right? You've seen that development week over week, and then messaging. Curt Cignetti is elite at packaging his message. He did it day one when he stepped onto campus in Indiana, and he's still doing it now. So like, all of that together is how we're here talking about the Peach Bowl and the college football playoff semifinal.
Yeah, it's not Michigan, it's not Ohio State, it's Indiana and Oregon playing on that side of the bracket. Mark Cuban met Cignetti, said he's bought in, but he bought in after the fact. So this isn't like Cuban's fueling what initially started. No. Yeah,
Cignetti had to go out and win. Yeah, and had to show him that, look, my blueprint works. You just watch. Now you come in here and you add some fuel to the fire, and we're going to explode. And I think that's what you're seeing now. But here's the best part about this, John, is, even right now we're talking about Indiana as having like the best transfer portal class, right? Because they've signed 7 guys. I mean, I don't know, it may be 12 guys by the time we finish this interview, the way that they've been rolling. But what you're seeing right now is the fact that even in today's world of money and me, and how can I get the best for me, that Indiana plays as a team better than anybody in college football, including anybody that's left in the tournament right now. And the way that they do that is they've gone out and they've recruited high character guys. And in this world of transfer portal and money and NIL, they have found a way to put all of that aside. Now, look, it's a part of who they are, certainly, but they've found a way to come together as a team that has been buoyed by the transfer portal the last 2 years and find that chemistry that so many teams who have gone out and spent have been unable to put together. And I credit that to Cignetti and his coaching staff, because they knew what they needed to win. And it wasn't always 5 stars. It was, give me the guy that's going to fit best for us and with this team. And that's what they're doing even now in the portal with guys like Josh Hoover and Nick Marsh and that crew. They know that they can win with them and that they'll fit in to this culture that Cignetti has built.
You've got on that IU roster, you've got a 24-year-old running back, you've got a 23-year-old running back, you got a quarterback who's pushing 23. I look over at Oregon and I see some 20-year-olds and some 19-year-olds, and they've got they played most of the season with an 18-year-old catching passes and a true freshman corner making plays. How big of a factor is the age thing in your mind in this matchup, or how different is that to, as coaches try to get older in the portal?
Well, Indiana is the most veteran team in the college football playoff. When it started, it had 19 upperclassmen starters. So to your point, that makes a difference. And look, those true freshmen have played really well for Oregon. And I mean, like, they played above their years, I would say, in terms of experience, certainly. And we've seen it with the running back group too, not just the receivers, the corner. I mean, like, they are all over the place with young, talented guys. And makes sense. I mean, they've been recruiting their tails off here for the last couple of years, and Dan Lanning deserves a ton of credit for that. But I do think that it matters. I do think that experience plays. I think that, even looking at the NFL model, like, go look at the quarterbacks that have succeeded in the NFL. They're ones that have tons of starts, right? Yeah. The Anthony Richardsons and the Mitch Trubisky's have really struggled because they just don't have that time on task. And Indiana has proven time and time again that even if it's not 5-star ability coming in, you are getting 5-star level play from guys because they've seen a lot of ball. And I think that really matters, especially on the defensive side. That scheme is complex. Bryant Haynes, the defensive coordinator, who is an absolute genius. And if he doesn't win the Broyles Award, they should disband the committee because he is the best assistant coach in college football. And Mike Shanahan, the OC, is right behind him or right alongside him, in my opinion. But they ask him to do a lot. And it's hard. And so they need guys who understand ball. And so that's why I think you're seeing that upperclassman effect for IU.
There was a big emotional outpouring at Autzen Stadium that day when Indiana beat Oregon, and it meant a lot. And I think for people who understood that last year, people looked at Indiana and said, oh, they didn't play anybody. And here was playing somebody on the road and winning in convincing fashion. It reminded me of a year ago with Oregon breaking through against Ohio State. The Indiana band was on the field. I was watching from the press box. The fans jumped the railings and joined the players on the field to kind of celebrate. You played at IU.
Yeah.
What did that win against Oregon mean?
I'll be honest with you, John, going into that game, I was still, I won 16 games in 5 years at Indiana. They could win 16 this year. Okay. Just for context, right. Of where the program is come from. Right. And, we'd go to the Horseshoe in Columbus. We'd go to the Big House. We'd go to Penn State. And you kind of had that mentality like, hey, look, like anything could happen, but we're probably a little outmatched in this one. I'll be honest with you. Had that feeling going into Oregon, going into Autzen Stadium. I've been there. I played there. Actually won there. But that's a tough place to play. And that's a damn good team. And I think there was still some question about who Indiana was at that point. That day changed my perspective. My expectation of Indiana completely flipped because I then expected to win every game after that. Even going into the Ohio State game in the Big Ten championship game, expected to win. That's what that game against Oregon did for me as a former player who always hopes that Indiana is going to win, thinks Indiana can win. That changed the expectation. What's really funny to me is now, whenever I can, I get a chance to sit and enjoy the game with my kids who have become diehard Hoosier fans. Like they're 8 and 6 years old. And I do credit that to my friends at Future Fans. FutureFans.com right now is a game for your kids to learn the game of football better than you and I telling them, like, this is how the game goes. They can play a game to learn the game so much so that you can then share your joy and your passion for the game with them. It is an absolutely incredible tool to be able to share the game of football with your kids. I absolutely love it. I think it's a big reason why now they're like, Dad, when are the Hoosiers on? Dad, when are the Hoosiers on? Dad, when can we see Indiana win another game? Like all they know in their life is Indiana, being an incredible team. But it's been so surreal to get to share that with my teammates too, who went through the hardships. My equipment manager has been there almost 30 years now, getting a chance to see some success after some really lean years. It's just been really rewarding to see everybody come together to support this program on this journey.
Give me what you think the key to this rematch is. What's the one thing you're looking at?
Well, look, I think we've seen that Indiana responds to adversity probably better than any team in the country in terms of what they've proven on the field. They did it at Oregon last time. Fernando Mendoza threw the pick six, tied the game, then came right back on the next drive and essentially threw the game-winning touchdown to Elijah Surratt. Was sacked twice in the first 3 plays against Alabama. And everybody's like, oh boy, Crimson Tide about to roll. And then Fernando methodically leads them down to a field goal on the next drive and the next, and it just kept building. This team is mentally tough, and they play together as a team, as I mentioned, better than anybody in the country. I think they are more physical along the line of scrimmage than anybody gives them credit for. They've got unsung heroes in the interior of their defensive line in Tyreek Tucker and Mario Landino that I think dominated Oregon's offensive line in that game a couple of weeks ago. Again, line of scrimmage to me is going to allow the elite playmakers from both teams to showcase their stuff, but the line of scrimmage will determine the winner of this game. I talked to an Oregon football alum who believes that they need to run the ball 35 to 40 times to win this game. So this is going to be a physical knockdown, drag out game. And if Indiana controls the line of scrimmage, Fernando can go do his thing and find Elijah Surratt, Omar Cooper, and Charlie Becker and the whole crew. But I truly believe that if you are replacing the line of scrimmage on both sides for Indiana, they're going to win this game.
The way that Indiana controlled the line of scrimmage in that first matchup scares me for Oregon.
Yes.
What scares the Indiana fan about Oregon?
I think if they can play better up front on the offensive side, to me, and if they can have success running the football, nobody's been able to run the football in Indiana all year long. Really haven't. I mean, the best you could say was probably Penn State, but they didn't have the pass game to really then take advantage of it. I think if Oregon starts ripping off 4, 5, 6 yard runs at a time, I think that's when the explosiveness of their pass game and their talented pass catchers can really start to take hold. You never really saw it in that first one because Indiana was dominating the line of scrimmage. They couldn't get a throw off for much of that game. They weren't having success running the football for at least into the second half. So to me, that's what scares me is if they're ripping off runs, it's going to be a problem.
You have a pick in this game.
I do. It's Indiana. I do, John.
You need that 16-win season. Is what you need.
I need that to wipe the 16 wins from my career out off the record books, right?
Yeah.
So that's what people are talking about. But I do think this is going to be a knockdown drag out. I doubt this is the blowout that Indiana has manufactured so many times this year. I envision this being, a kind of 3 to 6 point win for Indiana.
I think it's in the 20s. I think this is going to points are going to be hard to come by. Mistakes will be big. I mean, obviously the stage is there. Hey, Rhett, I appreciate you making time for us.
Of course, anytime, John.
And catching passes for Antoine Randall, man, that must have been fun to be on a team with him.
It was incredible. And I'll be honest with you, the only times I ever really caught passes from him were in the summer leading up to the season because he had some other guys to throw to at that point, not an 18-year-old freshman from Metairie, Louisiana. But it was incredible to watch him play and watching him as an individual play.
Yeah.
And the plays that he made, it's kind of like what I feel like watching this Indiana team now.
Yeah.
On a team wide, because there's dudes like that all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, it's different, man. And I covered that team as a beat reporter, and those fans were always looking forward to basketball season. And they were beat down in a lot of ways because they'd go to Wisconsin and Ron Dane would just run wild, and they'd go to Ohio State and they wouldn't have a chance. And so I think this is great for college football that Oregon and Indiana are playing this game. And I think whatever happens is going to be fresh, at least. It won't be the same old, same old.
And God bless that, man. Like, that's awesome. Like, and it's great to see some fresh faces in here. And it's great to have, a little bit of that parity. And I think that's what we're going to see in college football moving forward. So
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for making time for us.
Anytime.